Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into something that every single one of us experiences, but honestly, we rarely give it the credit it deserves. We're talking about the science of sweating, our body's built-in AC. I know, we usually just think of sweat as a total nuisance, right? Something that ruins a fresh shirt or just makes us super uncomfortable on a hot day. But today, we're going to unpack the absolutely fascinating biological machinery behind this everyday phenomenon. Get ready to appreciate your own biology in a whole new way. So let's start with the big question. Why do we actually sweat? We've all been there. You're out in the blazing summer sun, or maybe you're just right in the middle of a brutal workout, and suddenly you are completely drenched. It's a totally universal, if sometimes a little sticky, human experience. But why on earth did our bodies evolve to just leak water through our skin? Well, it's not some weird glitch in our biology. It's actually a highly sophisticated, absolutely essential process unfolding right there on the surface of your skin. All right, let's look at section 1, the rising body temperature. Think about what actually sets this whole chain reaction off. The main factors driving up your body temperature are pretty straightforward: environmental heat, running, general exercise, or even psychological stress. Just imagine that flushed, intense feeling when you're really pushing your absolute limits on a run, or, that sudden rush of heat you got right before you have to give a stressful presentation. In all of these situations, your internal engine is basically revving up, and your core temperature starts to spike. Now, here's the kicker. Without sweat, the body would overheat and suffer severe damage. It's that serious. We are highly sensitive organisms, right? And our organs rely on a super stable internal climate to just do their jobs. If we didn't have this natural defense mechanism ready to go, that rising internal heat wouldn't just be uncomfortable. It would cause our entire system to literally overheat, leading to severe, potentially irreversible damage. Moving on to section 2, the hypothalamus signal. Enter the real hero of our story, the hypothalamus. Deep inside the architecture of your brain sits this tiny but incredibly vigilant thermostat. It is constantly monitoring your internal climate, and the absolute split second your temperature rises beyond that safe baseline, whether that's from a sprint or just a stressful meeting, the hypothalamus detects the threat. It steps right in and fires off a critical emergency signal to the rest of the body. The message is super simple but deeply urgent. Cool down right now. Which brings us to section 3, the creation of sweat. Millions. Just let that scale sink in for a second. You literally have millions of tiny sweat glands embedded all over your skin. So the moment they receive that desperate command from your brain, this massive, microscopic army springs into immediate action. They activate almost all at once to deploy your body's primary defense mechanism. It's truly a biological response of awe-inspiring proportions. And it's just this flawless chain reaction. You've got the invisible neurological command firing from the brain's hypothalamus on the left, which instantly triggers those millions of sweat glands to release fluid directly onto your skin on the right. It literally translates a neurological emergency signal into a physical shield against the heat. So what is the shield actually made of? The sweat recipe is basically water, salts, and small amounts of other substances. Water is the foundation, obviously, but it's also packed with salt, which totally explains that distinctive salty taste if a drop ever catches you by surprise during a workout. Plus, there are trace amounts of other bodily substances. It's a perfectly balanced concoction brewed by your glands for one specific job: maximum cooling efficiency. Let's look at the final piece of the puzzle in section 4, evaporation, our natural cooling system. Okay, let's pause here because this is absolutely crucial. Evaporation. It's not just the fact that there's wet water sitting on your skin that cools you down. The actual magic happens right in the moment that liquid turns to vapor. As the water changes its physical state into a gas, it literally pulls the heat energy out of your skin and carries it away into the air. It acts exactly like a thermal magnet, pulling that dangerous heat directly off your body. And boom, there's the physiological victory. Because that heat is physically carried away by the evaporating vapor, your core body temperature drops, which means your body stays cool. The threat of overheating, completely neutralized. Your built-in air conditioning unit just did its job flawlessly. So let's recap this whole 5-step biological chain reaction to make sure we've got it completely nailed down. Step 1, heat or stress threatens your internal stability. Step 2, the brain's hypothalamus sends out that urgent cooling signal. Step 3, millions of glands make the sweat recipe. Step 4, evaporation takes the heat away. And finally, step 5, the body cools down. It is such an elegant, perfectly structured loop of survival. So our bodies clearly have this incredible built-in AC, but what would happen if it suddenly stopped working? We've just mapped out this life-saving system that keeps us thriving every single day. But imagine if this precise, multi-step process just shut down. The next time you find yourself complaining about feeling a bit sticky and sweaty on a hot afternoon, just remember the severe, life-threatening dangers you are actively being protected from. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep wondering, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.